On the night of February 15th, 2003, a team of thieves entered a building on Hovenierstraat in Antwerp, the center of the global diamond trade, walked past 10 separate security systems, and spent the night emptying a vault that had been specifically engineered to be impenetrable. They took over $100 million in diamonds and walked out the same way they came in. The vault was still locked and resealed when they left. Nobody noticed until Monday morning. The most sophisticated tools they used were a can of hairspray, a sheet of plastic, and some aluminum foil. What happened in that building and how is genuinely worth understanding. That district handles roughly 80% of the world's rough diamonds and about half of all cut diamonds. On any given business day, billions of dollars worth of stones move through the neighborhood in plain cardboard boxes and folded paper envelopes called briefkeys, carried by hand between dealers who still seal transactions with a handshake. It has been operating this way since the 1500s. At number 29 on that street sits a building called the Antwerp Diamond Center, which in 2003 housed a vault 2 floors underground where over 160 tenants stored diamonds, gold, jewelry, cash, and bearer bonds in private safe deposit boxes. The vault itself was considered essentially impregnable. It had 10 distinct layers of security, and each one operated on a different physical principle. The main vault door used a combination lock with 100 million possible settings, plus a separate foot-long steel key. Behind the door was a steel day gate with its own lock. The vault room was monitored by infrared heat sensors that could detect body temperature at a distance, a Doppler radar system that tracked movement through microwave reflection, seismic sensors embedded in the floor and walls that would trigger if anyone tried to drill or hammer, magnetic contacts on the vault door that would alarm if the door bolts moved, and light sensors that would activate if any visible light entered the sealed room. On top of all that, the building had 24-hour private security guards and multiple camera systems covering every entrance. What makes this interesting from an engineering perspective is that every single one of these security systems was independently sound. The combination lock was mathematically resistant to brute force. The seismic sensors were tuned to detect the specific frequency signature of drilling. The infrared system operated on the principle that any warm body emits radiation in the 7 to 14 micrometer wavelength range, which is essentially impossible to suppress from a living human. On paper, the redundancy was excellent. Defeating any one system would still leave 9 others active. The design philosophy was defense in depth, the same concept used in nuclear reactor containment and military fortification. But in February of 2003, a team of 5 men defeated all of it in a single night. The operation was led by an Italian named Leonardo Notarbartolo, who was part of a crew from Turin that specialized in high-end theft and had been active across Europe for decades. Notarbartolo's first move was to walk straight into the target. He rented an office inside the Antwerp Diamond Center itself, posing as an Italian diamond merchant. He signed a lease, got a safe deposit box in the vault, and spent roughly 2 years going in and out of the building as a regular tenant. Every time he visited his box, he paid attention. He memorized the layout, counted the security cameras, noted the timing of guard shifts, and observed which systems were active during business hours versus after closing. He also carried a tiny camera hidden inside a pen. Over multiple visits, he used it to covertly record the vault guard entering the daily combination on the lock. He would position himself nearby, pen in his breast pocket, angled toward the dial, and capture the guard's hand movements as he turned the combination. After reviewing weeks of footage, frame by frame, Notarbartolo and his crew had the full combination sequence. The crew had specialized roles. Notarbartolo was the planner and the inside man. A member they called the genius was the technical specialist who built the tools they needed. A third man, the king of keys, handled lock manipulation and key duplication. They spent over a year building a full-scale replica of the vault door mechanism so they could practice in private. They also determined that the physical key to the vault was kept in a utility closet near the vault entrance. so they made a mold and cast a duplicate. On the weekend of February 15th and 16th, 2003, a Saturday night going into Sunday, the team entered the building. Notarbartolo used his legitimate tenant access to get past the building's outer security during a window when guards were minimal. The crew brought a bag of tools that included hairspray, aluminum foil, polyester sheeting, electrical tape, and a hand-built mechanical device for prying open safe deposit boxes. The total cost of their equipment was trivial. What they were about to do would later be valued at over $100 million. The crew worked through the security systems methodically, starting from the outermost layer and moving inward. The combination lock came first, and they already had the code from the hidden camera footage. They entered the sequence and turned the duplicate key. The vault door opened. Behind it was the steel day gate, which they pried apart with a simple crowbar, bending the bars enough to slip through. No alarm triggered, because the day gate alarm was wired to the same system as the main door, and the thieves had not tripped the magnetic bypass of the entire operation. The door had 2 metal plates that maintained a magnetic field when the door was sealed, and breaking that field triggered an immediate alarm. The crew could not simply open the door without addressing this. The genius had prepared custom aluminum plates, backed with double-sided adhesive tape. Before swinging the door open, they carefully attached these plates over the contact points, maintaining the magnetic circuit even as the physical door moved. The sensor continued reading a closed field and never triggered. The infrared heat sensors were handled with a can of women's hairspray. The lacquer created a thin, opaque coating over the sensor lens, blocking infrared radiation from reaching the detector. This is crude, but it works because most commercial infrared sensors use a pyroelectric element behind a Fresnel lens, and physically coating that lens blocks incoming radiation regardless of its wavelength. The Doppler radar was neutralized with a large sheet of polyester or polystyrene that the crew held between themselves and the sensor, absorbing and scattering the microwave signal so the radar could not get a clean return. The light sensors inside the vault were covered with strips of black electrical tape, allowing the crew to work with flashlights without triggering the photocells. The seismic sensors were bypassed simply by not drilling. Since the crew entered through the door using the correct combination, there was no percussive vibration to detect. Over the course of the night, working in near total silence, they opened 109 of the 189 safe deposit boxes using a custom hand-cranked mechanical tool that avoided electrical or pneumatic noise. By Sunday morning, the crew had loaded their take into bags and left the building the way they came in, locking and resealing the vault behind them. The theft was not discovered until Monday morning when the first tenants arrived and found their boxes empty. The heist should have been perfect, and in a sense, the engineering was. Every security system had been defeated by understanding exactly how it worked, and applying a physical countermeasure targeted at its specific detection principle. But the crew made a mistake that had nothing to do with engineering. On their drive out of Antwerp, they stopped at a patch of woods near the E19 highway and dumped a garbage bag full of evidence. Diamond envelopes with tenant names, safe deposit box labels, a half-eaten salami sandwich still in plastic wrap, and a VHS tape from the building's security system. A local hunter found the bag a few days later and called the police. The salami sandwich still had DNA on it. Within days, investigators matched the evidence to the Diamond Center and identified the break-in. Notarbartolo was arrested 5 days after the heist when he returned to the Diamond Center, apparently to check whether the theft had been discovered. Belgian police eventually identified and charged 4 members of the crew, though the exact total is still debated. Notarbartolo was convicted and sentenced to 10 years. He served part of his sentence before being released on parole in 2009, was rearrested in 2013 for parole violations, and ultimately served until around 2017. Of the estimated $100 million in stolen diamonds, gold, and other valuables, almost nothing was ever recovered. Where it went remains an open question. What Notarbartolo claimed afterward is interesting, though. In a 2009 interview with Wired magazine, he said the entire heist was actually commissioned by a diamond merchant who wanted to trigger an insurance payout on stones that were either overvalued or had existing claims against them. Nodar Bartolo claimed the actual goods in the boxes were worth far less than the $100 million that was reported, and that the inflated number was part of the insurance fraud. There is no way to verify this, partly because the vault itself was not insured by the Diamond Center. Each tenant carried their own coverage, and some tenants may have had reasons not to be fully transparent about what they had stored. What the heist did demonstrate, independently of motive, is a straightforward engineering reality. Redundant security systems that all rely on physical sensors can all be defeated by someone who has had enough time to study each sensor individually and test countermeasures against it. Every single bypass the crew used was low-tech and scientifically trivial. The vault's designers assumed that 10 independent systems would create a multiplicative barrier, but the crew treated them as 10 separate, solvable problems and addressed them one at a time.